Mini Minerva, providing enrichment and inquiry in a rapidly changing world. We are particularly grateful to Dr. Nicola for offering to talk to us at this incredibly challenging time for the NHS. We truly hope that this talk will inspire you to think of ways that you can support the NHS at this time.
My name is Dr. Nicola, and I'm going to be doing a presentation for you today, talking about why I think that being a surgeon is the best job in the world. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it inspires some of you to want to become surgeons when you're older. Hi girls, I hope you're all okay. You can see here a picture of me at work. This was taken once I'd finished the day in the operating theatre, so I've still got on my scrubs and my scrub hat, and then my mask that you can see. I promise you I am smiling underneath it.
What does a surgeon do?
So first of all, what does a surgeon do? Does anybody know anyone who is a surgeon? Have a think. Is your mum or your dad a surgeon, or do they know anyone? Do you have anyone in your family or any family friends that work in a hospital? What do you think they do every day? You can see here some photos. You might have seen similar images of people like this on the TV or in books. So we'll have a look at each of them and just see what we think is going on. So let's look at this image. So we can see there's lots of people there, and there's a patient lying on the operating table. They've got a mask over their face, and that lady there is likely to be the anaesthetist, and they're using that big machine in order to help the patient breathe whilst they're asleep for their operation. And what about this next photo? You can see here that these surgeons have their hands inside somebody's body and they're fixing the insides. They're using some different instruments, and they all have to work together as a team in order to make sure that everything's held in the right place so that the surgeon during the operation can see what they're doing. Being a surgeon is a very practical job, and you use your hands, and they're really important.
What types of clothes does the surgeon wear?
This photo shows some of the protective clothing that we wear. So if you start from the bottom, we have special shoes that we wear in the operating theatre that protect our feet, and they're also easy for us to clean in case anything gets spilt on them. Then we have to wear our scrubs, which are the green trousers and the green top like you saw me wearing on the front cover of this presentation. And then that kind of paper dress that he's wearing, that's called the surgical gown, and those are sterile. So we use a new one for every single patient, and they're extra clean to make sure that the patient isn't at risk of getting an infection. Then you can see on his hands, he's actually got 2 pairs of gloves on, and sometimes we do that again just to make sure that our hands are super, super clean. And then we wear a mask and a hat to make sure our hair is tucked away. We have to make sure that we wash our hands really well before we do an operation.
What special things do you do before an operation?
So, how long do you think we wash our hands for before we put our gloves on? Do you think it's A, 30 seconds, B, 1.5 minutes, or C, 3 minutes? So have a think. So I can tell you the answer is 3 minutes, which feels like an exceptionally long time when you're trying to get ready really quickly. We have to be extra careful.
What does a surgeon's job involve?
So a little bit more about what do surgeons do. So the answer is we fix people. People have to have operations for lots and lots of different reasons. Fall off your bike, for example, and if the accident is bad and you have to be taken by ambulance to a hospital, you might meet a surgeon because they might have to do an operation to make you better. And you'll see a different type of surgeon depending on your injury. So in this photo, this person's injured their hand, so you might see a plastic surgeon, and plastic surgeons are responsible for very fiddly operations. So we often call upon them when people have injured small parts of their body, like their fingers or their toes. And you can see in these photos that in the first one, the bones were broken, and then the surgeons have come along and they've put these metal plates on in order to put the bones back in the right position and fix the person up.
What sort of surgeon are you?
So what sort of surgeon am I? My specialty is called oral and maxillofacial surgery. It's a very long, complicated name, so we tend just to call it MaxFax. Or sometimes, to make it even simpler, we call ourselves head and neck doctors, because that's what we do. We deal with a branch of medicine and surgery for anything in the body that's from the shoulders upwards, and that includes your teeth. So many of us are also dentists as well as doctors. One of the most common injuries that we deal with is when people break their jawbones. So I'm going to show you an example of that now. You can see that his teeth aren't in a line anymore. He doesn't look very happy.
You may want to skip this part of the video if you're a bit squeamish. Don't worry, Dr. Nicola has covered up the gory bits.
One of the most common reasons that people break their jaws is if they're punched during a fight or an assault. Again, you can see that his teeth are out of their normal position. So this slide shows a video of a patient with a broken jaw once they get into the operating theatre. You can see the surgeon's fingers there. They're wearing white gloves, and they're going to press on either side of the broken bone to show you how it moves. You can imagine how sore this will be for the patient.
What else does MaxFax surgeon do?
Another thing that we do as MaxFax surgeons is to remove teeth when needed. So if you look at this x-ray, you might have seen a similar picture like this before when you've been at the dentist, but it shows all the teeth inside someone's mouth. And if you look in the two corners at the bottom, you can see that there's two teeth that appear to be lying on their sides rather than standing upright. And these are impacted wisdom teeth. And sometimes MaxFax surgeons has to remove the teeth rather than a dentist if the patient has to be put to sleep for the operation. So this is a video of a patient who had a little extra tooth. The tooth was sitting in the top of his mouth, just behind his two front teeth. The extra tooth was lying in the middle of his two central incisors, and so it's given the term a mesiodens.
You may want to skip this part of the video if you're a bit squeamish. Don't worry, Dr. Nicola has covered up the gory bits.
Very common injuries are facial lacerations. This is just a long term for a cut. So I'm going to show you some photos of some people with cuts on their faces and show you what work we can do in order to make them better. So this was a boy that fell off his bike and he cut just underneath his right eyebrow. And here he is afterwards once we've put the stitches in to bring the skin back to the right place. This is a little girl, and I think she ran into her fireplace at home and caused a bit of a nasty cut just above her left eye there. And here she is afterwards, after she's had the stitches done. And then finally, this is a girl and she's sustained a nasty wound above her right eye. And this is her afterwards. You can see everything's put together and looks so much better.
Who can become a surgeon?
Who can be a surgeon? So ultimately, there are no rules against who can and cannot be a surgeon. But the people who tend to want to be surgeons, well, they usually like science. They want to know how and why things work, and they're interested in the body and the world around them. But also, because a lot of surgery is making things and fixing things with their hands, surgeons do also tend to be quite artistic. So if you like art and science, you might consider becoming a surgeon too. And how do you become one? Well, there's lots and lots of things that you have to do, but I think there's three main things. The first thing is that you have to love caring for people. As a surgeon, you work with people every single day, and ultimately, that's the main role of our job. As a surgeon, you have to know lots and lots of information. So it's important that you enjoy studying and that you do well in your exams. And finally, you must be able to work as part of a team. As a surgeon, you're very rarely on your own. So you have to enjoy working with other people. And you might already be a part of a team. You might be on a sports team or in a choir or in an orchestra. All of those activities will help your team building skills. So I hope that this talk has inspired you to want to know more about life as a surgeon and maybe even work hard to go to university to study to become one. But if you want to try out your skills, I've got one recommendation, and it's a game. You might have played it before. This is a game called Operation, and you have to use these small pincers to try and remove things from the body of this man that's lying down. And it will give you a little taste of what it's like to be in the operating theatre. So if you haven't got it already, you might be able to ask someone at home, put it on your birthday list.
We are so grateful to Dr. Nicola for talking to us, and we are overwhelmingly thankful to all the NHS workers at this challenging time. Think you have what it takes to be a surgeon and save lives? Check out the Bright Ideas projects that you could try yourself.